Please show some love for Feral Pony, the design lead for League of Legends Wild Rift. What do we do? I don't know. That's weird. You could do it. Okay, all right. It's just going to be like an awkward thing all the way through now. So thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Hi. So obviously by now you guys know that League is coming to both mobile and console in the form of League of Legends Wild Rift. So I'm joined now by Brian Feeney, the design lead for League of Legends Wild Rift. It would be weird if it was something else. To talk about what it took to rebuild League from the ground up for new platforms. So do you want to just introduce yourself and say a little bit about what you do, Riot?
Oh, sure. So I'm the design lead on League of Legends Wild Rift. Obviously, it was just announced this morning, very, very early. Basically, that means I'm sort of responsible for, obviously, like, I lead all the other designers and basically responsible for sort of the quality of the gameplay and sort of how it plays out and
So we come to you if we're not happy?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. You can just ping me directly.
Don't. Well, no, actually you do. So obviously you're bringing League to mobile and console, but it's not a direct kind of one-to-one port. I mean, what was it like? Because you had to kind of go back and sort of rebuild it from the ground up, basically.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's entirely built from scratch, right? We knew a one-to-one port wasn't really going to work, and so we knew we had to sort of build it from the ground up to meet sort of both the quality and sort of the visual fidelity and really get sort of like the authenticity and awesomeness that players expect from a League of Legends game. And really what we sort of heard over the years was that there are players who love League, and like we're trying to build this game for them first and foremost, but in a lot of cases it didn't really meet either their lifestyle was changing, they didn't have as much time as they used to, or even just like, you had a really long day at work and you just want to like flop yourself on the couch, right? Pick up a controller as opposed to sort of sit up in your standard workstation.
It's really hard with a mouse and keyboard. You knock over your tea.
Right, and you can't play upside down either. Like, that's really half the fun. Yeah. And, you know, also just like the fact that, hey, you're hanging out with some friends at a restaurant or at a party, right? And it's fantastic to sort of have a literal LAN party in your pocket.
Sounds pretty awesome. Let's move on to something rather specific and very close to everyone's heart, which is champions, of course. So, I mean, what was it like bringing people's mains over to Wild Rift? I mean, that's a medium to large scale degree of pressure, I feel.
Oh, yes, yeah. I mean, League of Legends really is about the champions, first and foremost. I spent a few years on League working on champion designs, and I mean, we know how much champions mean to people and like how critical it is that we really get these right and really just nail the authenticity here. So we just want to make sure that these really feel like their champion counterparts. Like if you're a main of a champion and pick it up, we want to make sure that you still feel like you're playing the same champion. There will be some differences, but you know, we want to hit that feel.
And sort of what are some of the ways that you did that? I mean, was it kind of difficult to streamline some of the champions' abilities for mobile and console? Because I mean, obviously you had to kind of little bit, right?
A little bit. We actually didn't compromise too much, I don't think. But I think part of the core of this is like, streamline's the word I wouldn't use here because that sort of means like you're simplifying or kind of like trimming down abilities. Really what we're doing is just making sure that we move them into the control scheme or the game pace or kind of changes, but we're still trying to deliver that really awesome, authentic League of Legends gameplay. So a few of the examples here. Example is Misfortune, right? The kit's basically the same, but her double up skill on PC is a targeted spell, whereas on our game, it's a directional skill shot. Now this is a change we do all the time on PC. We've done it, I don't know, at least a dozen times since that I can remember. But basically there's just a lot of other gameplay that we get out of it. And so it's not necessarily like we're making compromises here, it's that we actually get a thing that's better for the control scheme and better for overall gameplay. This allows her to do stuff like check brush, trying to hit a stealth champion that's sneaking around, or you can even do stuff where like a champion's kind of running at you, and you can fire the skill shot preemptively before they're in range to kind of squeak out some additional time and help you escape where you wouldn't be otherwise able to.
Okay.
There's another example, which is probably a little bit more extreme than that, which would be Vayne. We tried the same sort of skill shot approach on Vayne's Condemn, and there was a lot of problems and actually didn't work out. So we're not doing this like all over the place, but in some cases we will. But there is, we're trying to stay away from sort of what we call dead buttons. It causes a lot of problems on controller and touchscreen both. So like Vayne has a true passive. It's just a button that doesn't do anything when you hit it. And we actually added an active to Vayne's. So you still get the same silver bolts. It's a 3-hit that does a bunch of damage, and you can murder tanks and all that kind of fun stuff. But now when you hit Vayne's W, or her silver bolts, you actually get 3 attacks of small attack speed boost. And any silver bolts that you trigger actually vamp and steal a chunk of health from that you deal. And we think this can add a lot of additional gameplay and some cool outplay moments on Vayne. She's already a really high skill fantasy champion, but we think this can really kind of over-deliver there. For Vayne mains out there who may already be jumping down this line of thought, there's some kind of shenanigans you can do where you kind of pre-stack to get 2 stacks of silver bolts on, and then activate your W, get the vamp, get another attack, use your condemn to get a 3rd stack, and then sort of cheat and get 2 vamp, 2 heals off the same ability. If you don't play Vayne or don't play a lot of League, that may have sounded like complete rubbish and total nonsense, but I assure you it's pretty sick.
I mean, which was some of the trickier ones to get right?
Oh, I think probably the hardest one, probably by a good margin, was actually Yasuo.
Really? How come?
So, I mean, he's one of those champions that has sort of very high sort of actions that you're playing. But you can see even on the screen here, like the dashing mechanics, you have to sort of dash precisely in like 5 different times within like a 2 to 3 second window. It's just really hard to have both the responsiveness and the precision that you need. And so we spent weeks and weeks and weeks, if not months, sort of iterating and spinning on this to get it to feel like there's no changes at all.
I suppose it's like anything. It's like CG, right? If you notice it, then it's so much of your time and effort means that people don't notice that you've done stuff.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of this project is like doing an astronomical amount of work to feel like you've done no work.
That feels a bit sad in a sort of weird way, but I mean, what can we expect in terms of the numbers of champs?
So if you were able to play earlier today, if you're at any one of the events here that are celebrating L10, we had 25 champions in today's build. We currently have about 40 champions good to go. So when we sort of go wider, obviously that's sort of a fun throwback to League of Legends having 40 champions on launch. That wasn't really the intent, that's just kind of how it shook out, and obviously we'll be adding more as we go.
I mean, I suppose as long as Yasuo is there, that's all anyone really needs to know, right? Right, that's fine.
One thing I will call out on the champions, though, is that we are not targeting exactly the same number of champions that we have on PC and Wild Rift.
Okay.
So obviously, there's a whole bunch of reasons for that. Some champions don't translate particularly well. There's a whole bunch of other reasons. But we are going to try to be adding more stuff in the future.
Of course. And we all know what the champions will be like, but what about the gameplay on Wild Rift? Like, what can we expect in terms of sort of like, well, the map, for example?
So the map has sort of been, again, sort of rebuilt, redesigned. Will look and feel very similar, hopefully, but a lot of work, again, going into making it feel very similar. But the biggest thing here is really it's like the game pacing, right? We're trying to deliver a real League of Legends feeling from sort of start to finish, like laning phase, mid-game aiming, et cetera, all that kind of fun stuff, within a 15 to 20 minute time window.
Okay.
So, and part of that is we actually shrunk the map a lot to kind of make this happen, get players closer together, a lot more skirmishing, a lot more fighting. And in this, obviously we shrunk the bases more than we shrunk the rest of the map, because that's where most of the combat space is, and we want to keep as much of that intact as possible. So if you kind of look at the screen there, like we don't actually have any, there's no inhibitors, there's no nexus turrets, all that kind of stuff kind of got compressed inwards. If you take out an inhibitor turret, it's just the same as you took out the inhibitor turret and the inhibitor, and the nexus itself will shoot laser beams. So don't be too shocked when you walk in there and try to backdoor an undefended nexus and it just murders the hell out of you.
Oh, amazing. What's it like to lane in Wild Rift?
So, I mean, laning should, again, feel very similar, just it's a lot faster. I mean, you still have your same kind of like beginning, like laning phase, mid-game, end-game, all that kind of usual stuff. But additionally, you will also have your same usual suspects, right? You'll have your top laners, you'll have your mid laners, you'll have your bot laners, etc. You'll even have like your Teemos, right? Like all the usual laning types that you would expect in the League of Legends game.
And how did the cameras work as well?
So the big change on the camera is actually for Team 2 specifically, or Red Team, whichever way you want to frame it. The big thing here is the camera is always flipped, right? Because you can kind of see the way the buttons are laid on the HUD is kind of displayed. It's really important that most of the combat space is going up and to the right.
Yeah.
And all good graphs also go up and to the right, but it's also true for combat space. And in this scenario, basically, what will end up happening is your Dragon and Baron lane, if you're on Team 2, will actually be flipped because the map is mirrored.
Right.
So that can take a little bit of getting used to if you have, a lot of muscle memory and a lot of sort of expectations of like, hey, I'm a top laner, right? It's like really reframe it and think you're a Baron lane player or a Dragon lane player, and then adjust accordingly.
Okay, and I suppose we should talk about runes. I mean, do we still have them in Wild Rift?
Yeah, we do. This is one that I would say a system that is streamlined a bit, even though I said not to use that word earlier, but I would definitely use it in this case. We have a lot of the same usual suspects here for keystones. We think that's where sort of the majority of the gameplay was, so we wanted to sort of keep that. And the rest of it we kind of trimmed down to a number of minor choices to try and capture and kind of augment and support playstyles. So these will look fairly similar to the minor runes on PC. But the main difference here is you'll see there's not a tree structure per se, it's just kind of you pick one from each row. And the main reason for this is, we think we can capture the most of it, but we really want you to be, in the game as fast as possible and not sort of fiddling around in champion select and kind of undoing a bunch of decisions and micromanaging your build in that way.
And I suppose I have to kind of ask about the items as well. Can players still build all the swords and like all the boots and stuff that they love?
Pretty much, yeah. There'll be a lot of the same usual stuff as before, like your Trinity Forces, your Blade of the Ruin Kings, all that kind of fun stuff will be there. We also have a few new fun items. I think that'll be kind of exciting to try out here. But the single biggest change is active items. Okay. So on PC, you can buy 6 or 7 active items if you count your trinkets as well. But the main difference here is that you can't add 7 buttons to a controller just randomly. And so we really want to make sure that active items are super, super critical to like that really authentic gameplay and that really cool kind of feel how you augment and adjust your character. So what we ended up doing was we said, hey, we're going to give you 1 active, and we already have 1 boot slot, so let's just combine the 2. So by the time you basically will build and you'll upgrade your boots to sort of tier 2 boots, then you can actually upgrade them into add any active that you want, right? Whether those are like Hourglasses or QSS or Protobelt. If you want to run Protobelt Garen, go for it. It's a lot of fun. And you're just buying the active. There's no stats associated with it, so it kind of opens up the meta a lot and gives you a lot more freedom of kind of what to pick.
That's true. And obviously, so we talked about kind of running down enemies and destroying them. I think we should probably talk about how pretty it looks. It looks like it's had a bit of like a new lick of paint.
It is definitely a new lick of paint, but that's sort of on top of basically rebuilt everything, right? So again, this is sort of not a direct one-to-one port. We rebuilt everything from the ground up. We're really focusing here on device performance, compatibility, all these kind of things, and that really made us kind of start from scratch there. Additionally, while we're doing this, we thought, hey, why not update some of our older designs? So you'll see some champions such as like Earth skins like Angler Jax, which is it was a skin that was totally fun and great in 2010, 2011, whenever we shipped it. But we thought that it could really use kind of an update and sort of a brand new kind of, you can see it here. It's pretty sick, but it's capturing a lot of the same feel for Fizz. I like that little guy. But this is sort of an example. We have a few of older skins like this that we kind of just decided to do. Hey, while we're at it, we're building it anyways, let's just update it.
I mean, why not? You might as well just go the whole hog. I want to know a little bit about the turntable that we saw in the video. Kind of what's that all about? The kind of new virtual wardrobe.
Yeah, so turntable was actually one of our, I think it was sort of a little surprise of a feature, right? We sort of started building it and we're like, this is actually really, really cool. So we kind of went all in on it. But obviously, when players are used to League of Legends, mostly what they're sort of used to is you kind of realize what the champion looks like and should feel like in sort of in the splash art or like animated splash. And we're totally keeping those, right? We're going to have splashes, we're going to have animated splashes. They look sweet. But we also thought this would be a great opportunity to kind of give players the ability to sort of see their champion in sort of high-res, full 3D. And really kind of figure like, hey, who am I playing? Like, what is this character about? And we think we can really capture these in some of these really cool little animations that really kind of, deliver who the champion really is.
Oh, it looks amazing.
It's very pretty. I love Poros too.
We're just going to watch it for a while on stream. Just keep watching. Oh, amazing. So what can we expect from Wild Rift in the future and obviously in the lead up to its release? Any kind of little surprises maybe you can share with us now?
I mean, maybe something comes out in the Q&A later, but I mean, right now there's like obviously a ton more that we want to show. We'll be communicating a lot more as we sort of move forward on the game in the coming months. Obviously, if you were on site earlier, hopefully you got a chance to play. If not, you can jump in right now to the, if you're on an Android, Google Play has pre-registration up right now. Okay. Obviously, other platforms will have that available in the future. Other than that, please, the feedback and the reception so far has been really welcoming and overwhelming. And so, yeah, please keep coming. If you have thoughts, feedback, questions, etc., please send them over. You can use boards, tweet me, whichever. But again, this has just been so awesome. So thank you guys so much for all the support you put into League of Legends. We wouldn't be here without you, and this has been amazing.
Yes, definitely. It must be so nice after, especially having to keep everything quiet. I don't know how they keep everything quiet for so long.
Oh, I mean, I was in a dungeon for 3 years on this project. I'm
really
so glad
difficult.
to be out. Yeah.
You're like daylight, hurrah.
Yeah.
I believe we do actually have some questions.
Okay.
Okay, let's start at the beginning. So, question number 1 is: can we link our accounts to get the champions and skins that we have?
So you will be able to link your accounts, but we're not going to do sort of one-to-one inventory sharing. And there's a few reasons for this. The biggest one is basically that we're not going to have content parity, right? We're not going to have every skin. We're not going to have every champion.
Yeah.
And so we want to make sure that we're being equitable and fair to the players that have invested. And so what this means basically, hey, if right now, like I'm in a Bard main on PC, but Bard's not in Wild Rift, right? And if I put all my money into Bard and I would get nothing, that would feel really bad. Whereas if I played a champion that was in our launch roster. But that being said, we will make champions like pretty accessible. You'll get a lot of champions to sort of level up. And we'll also, when you do the account linking, we will also give you rewards based off of your investment, so you can jump into Wild Rift with like a really big head start.
Okay, cool. So also, question number 2 is: will you be able to play the game through emulators, mouse and keyboard? And if so, how do you keep it fair?
So this is a really good question, right? Especially when you look into multiple platforms, like how do you keep kind of competitive fairness and competitive integrity? And so obviously we're not going to there's no current plans to basically build a PC client for Wild Rift. There's a lot of fantastic emulation software already out there that pretty much works on all the devices. So if you really want to play Wild Rift on your computer, you can totally do that. I would also say we also have League of Legends on your computer, which is also really good. So you can play that one too.
It's quite good.
In terms of like the sort of competitive fairness,
yeah.
I mean, this game was built from the ground up for twin stick. And like all the skills sort of supported, all the tuning, all that kind of stuff. So I actually don't think right now that keyboard and mouse will give you very much of a competitive advantage. You're usually kind of trading sort of fidelity and the ability to precise. You're getting a little bit potentially of like aiming your skill set slightly better, but you're losing a lot of like movement fidelity. As an example, because like a joystick is just a lot easier to move around and sort of carefully precising than sort of trying to right click.
Yeah. And then the third and final question, which is probably the most direct: Yuumi in Wild Rift when?
So, I mean, we got Garen, so I mean, it's like half the combo right there. But I mean, right now, there's a lot of characters we've already announced. We're going to try to shoot for about 40 when we start going wider to players, but we're not ready to announce what champions in particular we have.
I feel like are you giving things away with your face right now?
Am I?
I don't know. I like to read into things a bit too much, perhaps, when I interview people, and then make everyone really awkward. So, well, thank you so much. But you guys, we've got one last game spotlight for you, which is the Legends of Runeterra, and we're going to have 2 of the developers who are here tonight. But let's check out a trailer for the game before we dig into the story. But can we have a big round of applause for Brian, please, for joining us on stage?
Thank you.